First of all, Jason, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your reflections, your time here in Cleveland. What
Mhm.
impact did it have on your career? And I know that you had some tremendous influences here. So take me back to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there are several things. I think the biggest one is I learned how connected a football franchise can be to the community.
Mhm.
There is a symbiotic nature between the fans or the greater Cleveland area, frankly, most of the state, right? You have to get pretty close to Cincinnati before you find a Cincinnati fan. I mean, it's most of the state, and its emotional, economic, and otherwise deep connection to the club is really significant. And I think from the moment I got here, I've always been somebody who tends to embed in the community in which I'm living. And I had friends outside of football and deep relationships outside of football. But that was par for the course in Cleveland. That was the way that the club operated, and that was the culture that was set up. And that just felt like such a natural fit for me. The substantial investment in the community so that I think really I took that with me, and it's been very helpful in this job because arguably we have a more passionate fan base here than Cleveland. I would say we do, but we haven't yet built that deep connection. We had it once and we have to rebuild it. And I do take inspiration from that symbiotic relationship. Even if the team is not good and fans are, griping about it on Monday, there's still a love for the Browns that exists in Cleveland. And I
Yeah,
want
now
to establish that.
I might have to argue with you on the passionate fan base thing, but I understand what you're saying. um,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's
so
one.
Yeah. So tell me about, relationships with guys like Romeo Crennel. I mean, let's start with Romeo. What did you learn from Uncle Romeo while you were there?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how to describe him. That's exactly how to describe him. It was, he was like everyone's uncle. Romeo, there's so many things to gather from him. And frankly, so many of the Black coaches that I had, there was a substantial number of very senior Black folks on that staff. And that meant a lot at a subconscious level of saying, there's an opportunity for you to be an executive leader in this space. It tells you that consciously and subconsciously by having someone like Rack and Mo Carthon and Anthony Lynn and Dave Atkins, Terry Robisky, all of these folks that at different points were quite senior in the organization were really helpful to me. But I say Rack in particular, he demonstrated to me what it meant to be caring, but still carry authority. You felt like you could go talk to him. You could air your guts to him and tell him all the good, bad, and the ugly of what's going on with you professionally, personally, etc. And you knew he was going to listen and he was going to care for you. But then he also carried this air of authority that reminded you he was the head coach and that he was making decisions on behalf of the team. I remember one time in particular, I was starting to find a way to break into the lineup after being on and off the practice squad. And, I'd had a game where I made a couple good receptions, made somebody miss. And, I was feeling high on myself and people were congratulating me. And we're in practice, we're in a walkthrough. And I was messing around during walkthrough. And coach said something to me of like, hey, I really need you to play well again. I was like, well, did you see, you saw what I did, a little bit cocky. He was like, yeah, but you're incredibly inconsistent and I'm going to need more consistency. But I did love that. Like, it was just very clear. It's like very clear. Like, yeah, I love that, young man. However, you're really inconsistent and I'm going to need consistency from you. That mix of compassion and care with authority is something I really try to role model.
That's because he was a girl dad. Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He was able to bring, sort of a different viewpoint, I thought, where, we watched him be so tough on his football team when he had to be. But like you said, he brought that unique mix of caring and toughness.
If there's anything we need in leaders today, it's empathy.
Mm-hmm.
We need leaders that are empathetic. We have a dearth of them in the world, and we need people like Rack. I am surprised that, the last winning season was when we were there and we went 10-6, which again, like the luck of all lucks, we didn't make the playoffs. How you go 10-6 and not make the playoffs? I would love to know like the probabilities of that happening, but yeah, I mean, it's surprising because there's been so much talent that's come through that place and there's so much devotion from the fan base, and you've had brilliant people there all on the way, brilliant GMs, brilliant coaches, etc. I think, one thing that, you've highlighted, and I don't know how it's been there, but I know they are striving to create consistency of a great young quarterback and trying to build a core around him. That makes sense to me, to have something that stays in place for some time. I know that's what Coach Rivera is trying to do for us. And for me, most certainly on the business side in the front office of the organization, I am trying to set the foundation that then will not shake for a period of time going forward. And I think we have to be patient and give the Browns ourselves time to grow into that. We have to give ourselves time to grow into that. We have to try to not be knee-jerk. We have to, get our fans to embrace the vision, to go along with us for some time, because fans don't realize how much influence they have. You yell loud enough, things tend to happen and things move around. And I do think stability and consistency, breed championships. I think, Pittsburgh and New England and others where there's a level of consistency and stability. You may have ups and downs. You may have some mediocre seasons, but you deliver over the long term. I think that's really important.